Okay. Hi guys, today I'm going to review the Sony Xperia X. Fun fact, if someone would have come up to me, told me, check this phone, it's Sony's new flagship, I would have tried it and I would have said, yeah, sounds about right. But this is not even Sony's flagship yet. That's what Xperia X performance is there for, and that begs the question, how is Sony actually going to top this, since they are quite similar in terms of specs? What I exactly mean by that we will see throughout the whole review, but let's start with a real quick overview. Design and build quality absolutely top notch. It feels so much more round now, more comfortable, super nice and compact and premium. Love it. The display absolutely top notch, maybe not quite the very best one, but a really nice calibration this time, way better blacks. Fully satisfying. The sound still not quite there yet because I think the headphone output jack quality and the speakers could have just been a little bit louder. In terms of quality though, they are absolutely fine. Performance more than satisfying, actually really impressive, because the Snapdragon 650 performs pretty much the same as the 820 does on the HTC 10, so really respectable. Even more so respectable though is the battery life, because on Wi-Fi only I got 6 hours plus, and on mixed use I got 4.5 hours plus, which is pretty much the same as I do on my S7, so really good and definitely above average here. In terms of the software, it's still Sony's UI, not much has changed. It looks quite stockish, a little bit of a theming engine is there and a few minor enhancements, but overall it feels very stockish, and we have quite recent updates recently with Sony, so all good here. The camera is a little bit of a hit and miss, because I've tried superior auto in 8 megapixels, 20 megapixels, 23 megapixels, but no matter what I did, what I tried, I didn't get fully satisfied all the time. It is a highly capable camera, but not always, but I will get to that later in the camera part. So let's start off with the design and build quality. As always, size comparison first here with the S7. As you can see, it is a little bit taller, but in terms of thickness and width, it's pretty much the same. Okay, the screen is a little bit smaller with 5 inches instead of 5.1, but the only thing that I would have wished to be maybe a little bit smaller would have been the side bezels, but the rest, because now we have everything rounded really nicely. We don't have the edge anymore like we had on the Z5, and overall it feels so nice and round in the hand, which is something that I absolutely love. We have a metal backing now instead of the frosted glass. It feels quite similar, but in overall I would say it is a little bit more grippy, but the grip is actually not even the highlight here, because usually it's okay in terms of grip, but sometimes if you have colder hands it can be a little bit slippery, but since the phone is so compact you can hold it securely no matter what. Here we have the flash, the camera that sticks out just a little bit, but it doesn't wobble on the table or something like that. Here we have the microphone, a headphone jack, SIM card and SD card tray. The great thing is you can take it out without any tools, but the downside is it will reboot because of the SD card and SIM card, which shouldn't have been needed, I think. Here we have a microphone and also the micro USB, and as you can maybe see here, it did chip off a little bit, so the coating maybe isn't quite perfect. Dedicated camera shutter button, volume rocker that I still think is too low. It should have been somewhere around the power button. And then we have the pretty much perfect power button with the fingerprint reader, because the moment you press it, it pretty much unlocks every time. And it actually did unlock. This was just a blank page, because as you can see here, just press it and it will unlock. And just to show how quick it is actually, let's see that. As you can see, this was a really quick tap. It works out pretty much every time, and it is very reliable. So overall I am super impressed with the overall. We also have a notification LED here that is actually quite bright and definitely easily noticeable, so kudos to that. Overall I absolutely love the design. Now in terms of the display, 1080p IPS. As you can see here, sharpness on 5 inches is absolutely fine, no problems here at all. The white point is absolutely great, and you still have the option to change that in the settings. It looks a little bit reddish here, but that's not in reality the case. Maximum brightness is absolutely great. Sunlight visibility was absolutely top. The blacks way better than ever before, because they diminished the amount of IPS glow, and it has come to a level that is way better than on any other Sony phone. Still not quite maybe on the very best level like on the LG G4 or HTC 10, but absolutely fine. But therefore I like the color calibration, because you maybe can't see this so much here, but especially skin tones are very natural and everything has a really nice pop, but definitely isn't oversaturated or overblown, so very natural and accurate after all, and this is something that I absolutely know to respect. Okay, so let's check the sound. Okay, So don't get me wrong, we have front-facing stereo speakers, which is great and it is immersive during games, but I still think it's not quite loud enough, at least not what I would like to have seen, because the overall sound is good, it has a little bit of bass, mids are nice and it's really clear. But there are a lot of speakers these days that are just louder. If that's not important for you, that's absolutely fine. But the headphone jack output quality is pretty much the same, just not quite loud enough with a headphone. If you use it on earphones, absolutely fine. And the sound balance and the quality of the sound is absolutely fine, but it's not quite up there with the best ones. I would have, especially with my headphones, wished for a little bit more volume. But overall, it's still okay, satisfying enough. It's not really a deal breaker, but it could have been done better. Okay, so let's get to the performance here. Something where I'm absolutely pleased because it uses the Snapdragon 650, and I did not know that this one can perform so great because, as you can see here, super smooth scrolling, really nice and responsive, absolutely great. For example, if we go into this Twitter app, absolutely nice and smooth. Everything is great. The one thing that I had a little bit of some performance issues on, I'm not quite sure if it's the display, but when I was typing was quite hard because it didn't quite keep up with the speed of my typing. I had a lot of mistyping and typing was quite hard, but the overall app performance and something that was super impressive was the app launch times, because I did it side by side with my S7 and it actually 7 out of 10 times, for example, actually launched better. Something I did not expect. Multitasking is also absolutely fine. 3GB do a great job. The only thing where I sometimes noticed the re-rendering was the browser. Everything else was totally fine. And if we talk about the gaming performance, also absolutely great. I could play all the games 1080p, super smooth, high frame rates, pretty much no frame drops or slowdowns at all. And the heat stayed absolutely top because I played Asphalt 8 for about, let's say, 40 minutes. And the maximum temperature that I ever reached was 38.6 degrees or something like that. Never even 39. So it didn't throttle or anything. Performance was absolutely consistent throughout everything. So overall, the 650 is very efficient, very powerful, very capable, and on the level of really of a flagship. Like for example, on the HTC and side by side, they feel pretty much identically. Something that I did not expect. But since we were already talking about efficiency, battery. A full charge with the default charger took 2 hours and 35, which was a little bit long. And then I tried a fast charger. It got better with about 2 hours. Still not super fast, but 2 hours is absolutely fine. But the great thing here is the battery life. On Wi-Fi only, I got 6 hours plus with a brightness of about 45%, which though is very bright because it's a really vibrant and quite bright screen. On mixed use with data and Wi-Fi, I got about 4.5 hours plus. But you have to consider, at least of recently, I have a little bit more drain on data. So without that, you could get even more. So I would somewhere see people around 5 to 6 hours, which is highly respectable. And at least on the S7 level, something I did not expect since the battery is quite small with 2620. Now, about the software, not really too much to show here. This is the stock launcher. As you can see, not really anything spectacular. The quick settings look quite similar to something like we see on stock. This is already actually a theme, and since we are talking about themes, we have a theming engine here, but it doesn't really make too much of a difference. A few minor things like maybe the buttons get changed and maybe the wallpaper, so it's not a really super deep theming, but it works out really nice. And as you can see, the settings maybe look themed, but the whole layout and everything else is very, very similar. We also have the do not disturb mode. So overall it feels very, very much like a stock Android, just themed, but that's pretty much it. So if you love stock Android, I think Sony, besides maybe Motorola, are the ones closest to that. Now let's talk about the camera. Selfies are absolutely great. The camera produces really sharp shots throughout everything. Exposure was great, and especially the details and the overall appearance was absolutely great. Exposure, colors, skin tones, absolutely great. In low light situations, I have to say, pictures seemed a little bit brighter than they actually were. So this is maybe a good thing or a bad thing, but they are definitely quite good, quite sharp, not really that blurry and not too much of grain. Once you go outside, it's still a little bit of a mixed thing because I made like 5 times more pictures than I ever usually do on camera reviews to check the camera, because people told me I use it wrong. I should use 8 megapixel auto superior instead of 20 or 23. in most cases, unless I have super great weather and so on. So I tried all the free settings, but no matter what I did, it always turned out a little bit not quite super focused. Just not everything was super sharp, but the color balance was great. The skin tones were great. In general, some colors of maybe some flowers didn't work out quite correctly. And what I also noticed, if you make really close-up macro shots, it doesn't really focus properly. So you need a little bit of a step back. It just doesn't focus too close. Now, when we talk about the video camera qualities, it's good. And especially with slower movement, it works out quite fine. I noticed the slower you move, the more artifacts came up. It's not 4K capable, but 1080p, 60 frames. So overall, I would say the camera for videos is capable. And there, for some reason, autofocus for macros actually worked out quite good. So to bring this to an end, it can produce flagship level quality shots, but it's really a hit or a miss, because so many times I had to make like 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 shots to get one proper one. Sometimes it was just blurry or didn't quite focus properly. It is a good one, and one thing that was quite annoying, and I have to actually show this off, if you use the camera, let me unlock, and whenever you take a picture, you will see a processing going up here. So if you can maybe see, there is this little circle. It's not quite as visible now because of the ratio. Let me quickly check that, just so you can see this. So here, if we shoot a picture, sorry, this was not quite right. As you can see here, there is this little circle. And if you use 8 megapixels, it is not that long anymore, but if you use 20 or 23 megapixels, this processing gets quite long. So just keep that in mind. It's not quite a flagship level camera in terms of usability. I just prefer something that is easier to use than this one is. But I think that's good enough. Let's get to my conclusion. Overall, I think they did an absolutely great job, because I love the feel in the hand. The performance is top notch. The display is great. Sound is still good enough. The battery is way more than average, and the camera is still capable if you know what to do with it. So overall, it is a really great phone. And the one thing that I've mentioned, how could they top it with the Xperia X Performance, is the following. The X Performance will use a Snapdragon 820 that could be even more so powerful, since they used both the same resolution. But I think the battery could suffer, because we have on the X Performance a 2700 milliamp hour battery, where we have 2620 here. But I think this next 650 will be a lot more efficient. So I can't quite judge it unless I have it. And this phone is actually on a flagship level if you wouldn't know the specs. But then there is the one quite big issue, is the price. Around 600 euros now still. I think if it would have been anything closer to 400, I would have said absolutely top buy. Top-notch quality, overall really highly capable phone with not pretty much any flaws. And this is something that is super important for me. A flawless phone that can handle everything. Maybe isn't the best in everything, but therefore very, very capable throughout everything, which this phone is. But the price is just a little bit too high. If it falls down to 400, I would say absolutely yes. For 600, no. Then you can already go for 700 and get the flagship, which maybe should kind of offer the better value. But I can't really complain about everything. I really enjoyed this phone a lot. The experience was absolutely great. It's just the price for right now that could hinder it. And if you maybe want to know how it compares to the Z5, I could make a specific video for that, because it would just take too much time. This video is already too long. Just real quick, in my opinion, I think I like this one a little bit more, just personally because of the way better in-hand feel. The battery life was also better. Cameras are very similar. Display is ever so slightly improved, and the performance is pretty much on the same level. But the Z5 now is a lot cheaper than this one. So in terms of value, the Z5 wins. The overall better phone, at least for now, in my opinion, is the Xperia X. And why I talked so odd, I don't know, but I think this would have been it. It's not actually that long, the video. I'm not quite sure how I actually managed to do that. I still hope I packed all the information there, but if I haven't, leave me any questions or comments down in the comment section. I will answer that for sure, because if I make the video shorter and you still didn't get anything or everything you want to know, that's why the comments are there for. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see reviews, for example, like of the Xperia X Performance soon as well. Other than that, I wish you a nice day. Until next time, bye.